Hello and welcome to Discussion Today. I am Tina Jha. On the show today, we are going to talk about an issue that directly or indirectly affects each one of us, and that is the right to protest versus the convenience of the public. In recent months, we've witnessed multiple protests over various issues in different parts of the country where public spaces have been occupied indefinitely. Those protesting contend it is their right to carry out a peaceful protest guaranteed under the Constitution of India. But the question that comes up repeatedly is, can such protests be exercised at public places for an indefinite period of time, causing inconvenience to the others? On Friday, while hearing a plea of a Noida-based woman alleging difficulties in commuting to Delhi for work due to road blockages by protesting farmers, the Supreme Court observed that public streets should not be blocked. The court said it has repeatedly been held in previous orders of the top court that public streets should not be blocked. Earlier, in its judgment on pleas against blockade of road at Shaheen Bagh during the anti-CAA protest, the apex court had said that occupying public places for protest is not acceptable and such a space cannot be occupied indefinitely. The matter has now been fixed for further hearing on the 19th of April. So on Discussion Today, we will talk about the right to protest and the indefinite occupation of public space. Joining me on the program are two distinguished panelists. Let me introduce them to you. I have with me on the show today Mr. Desh Ratan Nigam, Advocate Supreme Court, and Mr. Shekhar Iyer, Senior Journalist. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me on Discussion Today. Mr. Iyer, let me begin the program with you. The protests on public roads, public spaces is a concept that is not new to India, and worldwide we've seen several such protests happening. It was Occupy Wall Street, then last year we saw the anti-CAA protests at Shaheen Bagh, and now crucial highways being blocked by agitations of the farmers. What explains this practice of protesting in public spaces, not taking into account the inconvenience caused to the others?
Well, Tina ji, I'm afraid I have to be a little more blunt than usual. The very fact that these protests are held in public space is to cause the inconvenience to public. The idea is that if you cause inconvenience to public, then the public will feel more resentful towards authorities. In turn, it can bring pressure on the issue that they seek to expose. This is a very clear strategy. Otherwise, apart from what the Supreme Court has said earlier and what it has said a day before, what we need to understand is those agitating in public spaces do so for a simple reason, because they think this is the best way to get public attention, even by way of a public nuisance, and at the same time build pressure on the government or authorities or whoever against whom they are protesting. That is why you have seen protests have been held all over despite Supreme Court's order in October. Again in December we saw. And also the problem is authorities themselves, on a matter which concerns public order, public convenience, which is the responsibility of the executive, they rather look to the court to provide, some kind of an opening for them to act, lest they are held accountable later for excessive use of force or things like that. See, that is the problem here. The Supreme Court has made it very clear, umpteen times, if I can remember, where it has said, look, the right to protest is a great right that is guaranteed under the Constitution. And you have every right to protest. But at the same time, as we saw in the Shaheen Bagh matter, that you cannot hold that space for months together, affecting entire livelihood of so many people and emergencies. What about cases where somebody has to rush to the hospital? And here in this particular plea, look at the plea of this lady. She says she is a single parent and are commuting from Noida to her place of work. This is a very practical problem.
Yes.
Forget the issues involved. Now, this lady has to reach office in time, at the same time get back because she has to look after her child. You can imagine the concern and the worry of a mother caught in a traffic jam and her child at home, probably child trying to reach her through her mobile phone, and she's here caught in the jam. Can you understand the kind of anxiety and tension so many parents undergo this? This is not to belittle or to make a commentary on the issues raised, but the fact that this is not properly brought out, how many people undergo this kind of problem? Sure. Of course, we do hear, instances which are also portrayed in the media where, the organizers of protest made way for an ambulance, made for somebody to go. This should not be left to the discretion of organizers of protest. because emergency is emergency. You remember at one time when Delhi police said no more protest will be allowed in the particularly in that Jantar Mantar. It is court which intervened and said, no, this space should be there because it was suggested they should move to Ram Leela Maidan. Now, the courts also, the judiciary also sometimes feel that they should not be harsh upon the protesters. Even they do understand there is inconvenience because lest they are seen as, trespassing or trampling upon the right to protest. So this is a kind of dichotomy we have seen on the part of authorities and sometimes on the part of judiciary where they should have come, with a little more, I would say, a strong hand.
Absolutely. And that is where the question, Mr. Nigam, comes that despite the Apex Court repeatedly saying that public places cannot be held indefinitely due to protests, of course, causing inconvenience to others, why have we still not been able to implement it? First, it was the Shaheen Bagh incident and now the farmers' agitation. And as Mr. Iyer rightly pointed out, there are thousands of others who have no direct connection to these issues, but they are affected in a major way, not just in commuting, but in terms of paying heavy prices for products as well.
Tina ji, in fact, I am one of the persons who's a professional and who's still suffering because of this from taking a circuitous route and also, an average time of about an hour more than the normal time. And especially in peak hours, you really get held up. And this is not, specific to Delhi. This is an all India issue, whether it is in Kerala, West Bengal, or parts of, other states also. So it's a pan-India problem. Yes, government has been slightly, lenient on these people because thinking, say, let us take the example of farmers, thinking that some of the farmers are misguided and the court's directions were also there. And even till today, the government is quite lenient on these so-called protesters who claim to be farmers. But the fact remains, I think this is the time when it has to be taken strictly and to be implemented without thinking of political consequences, what will happen in the elections. Now, it has become a field day for these failed politicians. If you look at most of these protests, you have failed politicians who are trying to make a comeback or trying to make a mark or paid protest. I'm personally aware that the people sitting out there are being paid even today. And I'm aware of that and I've seen it personally with my own eyes, and I'm saying with a sense of duty and responsibility when I'm telling your viewers that most of them are fake protests today, and a protest cannot be indefinite. And the Supreme Court also said that whatever was employed as a means of protest during the colonial era cannot be employed in a self-ruled democracy. You cannot break laws in a self-ruled democracy where certain duties have been, obligated upon the people and citizens of this country, that you have to obey the laws, you don't have to block the road, you don't have to cause inconvenience. Yes, right to protest is a right that you have, but on the other side, the general public also has a right. You cannot inconvenience them, and you see some videos that ambulance has been allowed to go. These are manufactured to gain sympathy of the people, allowing one ambulance and 100 others are stuck somewhere. So these are all publicity kind of stunts that we have seen. However, I think it's a high time that we need to take these issues seriously, because one protest will lead to another similar protest, and it will be at any place, any time, indefinitely things will start. And Supreme Court is only, a body which can direct the institutions. It is finally the institutions that have to implement it. And elections or no elections, I think message has to go to the people who seems to be occupying these public places illegally. They have to be sent a message, a clear message that you cannot do it. And especially the duties that have been enjoined upon you to safeguard public places, to abjure from violence. These are duties that the individuals and the citizens also have to realize. We also have a duty towards others also.
Certainly.
You just can't say, we'll break the law and nobody can do anything. That's not the way democracies function, Tina ji.
Mr. Iyer, so to that regard then, should the Supreme Court be setting the contours of the protest? Because if we say the strategy is to exert pressure on the authorities, that clearly we are seeing is not working. Because for months together, we've been seeing the agitators have been blocking the roads, and with the deadlock, of course, is not being, the issue is not being resolved. So in such cases, who sets the contours of the protest? Can we expect the Supreme Court to do that?
Well, you see, the Supreme Court has to balance between the right to protest and right to, normal services, because to have a normal life and normal services also, I would say, a fundamental right. So I do not know how the Supreme Court can, because it is going to be on a issue by issue basis. Though the general principles have been laid that you cannot inconvenience public for a long time, number one. Number two, no place can be occupied, and for months together you can disrupt the normal going-ons there. So the whole problem is it depends on which issue and where. Because in Shahid Bagh case, you see, the court also held that even if a matter is before the judiciary, even if it is matter considered sub judice, one has a right to protest. Now, Supreme Court is also, what is happening is it depends on the bench and on the judges themselves, because they also have certain views. They feel that the primary duty of them is to uphold the democratic rights. So now I will draw attention to a fact, in 1997, Kerala High Court came down very hard on this holding of bunds. Kerala is a state known for bunds. Anybody, any organization, with any banner can call for a band and everybody follows it. But in 97, Kerala High Court said, look, you cannot disrupt life like this. Subsequently, even after that also, in January 2019, the Kerala High Court came with another order saying that any party which is giving a call for a band at least should give 7 days notice, so that whatever the issues are raised, the authorities have time to decide, and also the public can also consider the issues. Because normally bunds are given at at 48-hour notice or even 24-hour notice, depending on whatever is engaging those who are calling the band. So therefore, this is a sensitive issue. I think even those who organize bunds must realize, see, ultimately, this kind of where you inconvenience public, they are not going to get sympathy for the cause, no matter what the cause is, or no matter how justified they feel in holding this thing. Because you see, if we do not respect each other's rights, because our freedom of expression or my freedom ends where the limitation of my nose, as they say, I cannot create a situation, claim I have the democratic right at the cost of others. So inconveniencing public should not be the case at all. You see, even let's take the case of bunds. I have seen in Delhi itself in the last, say, 35, 40 years. Earlier, band meant, parties would insist on shops being closed or traffic being stopped. But in Delhi, the culture of band is different. Today, the normal life to a great extent is not affected. Even shops close, say, if it is called by traders, then they all close down. But by afternoon or by evening, you will find that life has returned to, because band doesn't get the public support.
Is it why these days, Mr. Iyer, the kind of protest that we are witnessing is not just about acceding to the demands, but in a way extending it? It's like holding the city to ransom, and that to the national capital, which has a population of more than 2 crore.
Exactly, because the whole idea was, that we, a particular class, can go on an agitation, and then, in order to build up pressure. See, Delhi is chosen. Why is Delhi chosen? Because Delhi is a nerve center of activity. So if you create a problem on the borders, it affects so many people. Now, I do not see what is the fairness of this. And people claim they are doing it for farmers or doing for students or whatever, because there is so many causes. And today there are so many organizations indulging in, they are just looking for a cause to take up. Because these are also politics by other means, Teenaji. We have to understand and appreciate, because some political parties or political organizations, when they realize if an issue cannot be, normally discussed and get public support, which is reflected during election, then they take recourse to such methods, which I consider is politics by other means. Though the parties may not directly participate, they get some organizations to do it for them, so that it is a problem for whoever is the authority or whoever is the ruling party or whatever. So therefore, because everybody must realize, whether it is authorities or those who are protesting, that ultimately it concerns common people, common citizens. Because if, for instance, in Shahid Bagh, so many people in that area lost livelihood. All those who are, hawkers, people who earn a daily wages. So I think time has come, and Supreme Court has now clarified more than once So everybody must respect the Supreme Court judgment. At the same time, for the future, in order to protect our right to protest, we need to be exercise this right much more judiciously.
Okay, Mr. Nigam, the strength of democratic polity is that we give citizens the right to protest peacefully. But now here comes the question of balancing between the right to protest and the right to the fundamental rights of the others. So who has the authority to balance between these two, and if the judiciary can, in what way?
Tina ji, the contours are already laid down in the law of the land, the rule of the law. It is not that what Supreme Court is saying is anything new. It is only saying what is the law laid down. The law is very clear that you cannot stop the public places or block them. And that is everything flows from that, rule of law. Therefore, everybody is bound to obey it. You have a right to protest. There are designated places, the Supreme Court says, and in fact, the municipal corporations and the state governments have designated places where you can go and protest. Nobody is stopping you from the protest. But the problem is, if you look at the anti-CA protest or the farmers' protest, they were bereft of logic. It was artificially, manufactured kind of protest, not based on logic, saying people's citizenship would go. Whereas under the CA law, there was no such issue or even a provision to that extent. Or the farm laws. Farm laws are meant to provide, better opportunities to the, small and middle farmers, so that they have wider scope and nature to sell their products. So what we see is politics of the highest order, where an artificially manufactured issue is exploited to the core by some failed politicians, certain political parties to, garner brownie points. They have no, regard for the issue. Even if there was one or two genuine issues involved in it, the central government said, we are willing to make 9 amendments. But they said, no, my way or the highway. So that clearly shows they were not interested in the issue. They were interested in, establishing themselves as a leader through a artificially manufactured protest. So that is what the people have also now seen. Now people are very clear. Now, in fact, the people who we are facing inconvenience, including me, the large number people are facing such kind of an inconvenience. But you look at it, we don't even look at them now. The people just cross, take a circuitous route, and don't even bother or even discuss about such protesters who are sitting, just 1 or 2 or 10 protesters sitting, but is still blocking the road. However, the government, it is the call of the government. Government is there to, protect the rights of the people. And right means clearly that no illegality or unlawful activity can be allowed on the roads, such as blocking the road indefinitely or in a manner which is being done now.
Mr. Iyer, Mr. Nigam spoke about designated places for protests. But the argument is that when the protesters sit at designated places, the exercise becomes futile because it is not exerting the kind of pressure on the authorities to be heard. So in such a situation, then what needs to be done? Because the designated places are strictly no for the protesters because it will not exert the kind of pressure, and public places is something that, that the court will say that you cannot hold protests on public places indefinitely. So what is the middle way out then?
Well, I mean, ideally, I would say that, there should be no reason for a protest because there are ample platforms available in a democratic entity like ours, where, there are several ways to express your dissent, your disagreement. And the best place for debate and discussion is in Parliament. Now, obviously, there will be laws which will have different views, but once you have exercised that option in Parliament, you have conveyed your views, and our system requires laws are passed by majority. Once the laws are passed, you will have to accept, because there is always the form available. If you disagree, the question comes when people are not willing to accept the fact that a particular law is passed by the requisite number in Parliament. It has become a law of the land. It has become a statute. Now, you have opposed it with all your might. You said all the things, arguments that had to be said. So finally, a decision is taken in Parliament. Now, after that, if you disagree with the law, there is the avenue of courts. That is why courts are there to decide a particular law is ultra vires of the Constitution or in consonance with the Constitution. Now, this is the system we have. So ideally, I see no reason for somebody to occupy a public space to convey. Okay, there may be an emergent situation where you feel this is the only way you can draw attention to the attention of the authorities. Okay, even if you do that, but should not we keep in mind that we are exercising this right, but so as not to inconvenience others? Because if you are not concerned about other fellow citizens, how is it we to assume that you are so concerned about that particular issue that you are raising, that there is no politics involved? So ideally, I think that should be the case. Similarly, it also enjoins upon authorities and the government of the day to see that to the best of its abilities, they are able to engage in a dialogue and not allow the situation to come to such a pass that the only way forward the opposing group thinks is to create a public drama and public inconvenience. So that is the ideal situation. But if we live in times where it is not ideal, because there are several factors at work. Even after parliament is passed through discussion, threadbare discussion, you see that forces which are upset with, since the mandate of 2014 and mandate 2019, they recourse to all other means because their whole goal is a political movement because they have not accepted the verdict of 2014 and 2019. So they constantly look for causes and issues, and because that is actually an opposition in disguise. But opposition parties themselves won't come. See, that is the new tactics of our politics today.
Yes.
So therefore, everybody is aware what is happening when an agitation starts, how the roads are blocked, how are the groups mobilized, who does the mobilization. We know about it. We have seen the incident of January 26th, Republic Day. What happened on that day? But all the same time, you see, the authorities also have a problem. Their hands are tied because they cannot be seen to be acting against democracy or against the rights of anybody to protest. Then the courts will come down hard on them. So they have to also balance between, to see that, they are not seen as somebody who is how to crush dissent. Because no government would like to give that impression because they do not want to do that.
Yes.
But a situation is created by various actors and, I would say non-state actors, I must say, who try to create a situation where it becomes confrontational and public inconvenience is created so as to ensure that the government gets a bad press and the bad publicity. So there are several factors at work. It is not simply about exercising your right to protest in a democratic manner.
So a lot of factors at play. Mr. Nigam, ideally, the court's role in administrative decisions should be limited. But when we have a situation where it is my way or highway approach, as we are witnessing currently, is it time for the court to impose a blanket ban on protests of all kinds on public spaces?
In fact, Tina ji, that ban is already exists.
It's not been exercised yet.
It is the government has to exercise citing the Supreme Court judgments, and in fact the law also exists. It is Supreme Court has said nothing new, except that I agree with Mr. Iyer that it's a catch-22 situation for the government. They don't want to be seen as a crusher of dissents. So therefore they are being lenient, and in our democracy, I think the government also wants public opinion to be built upon genuine issues, and here the people have been able to see what are the genuine issues and what are the artificially manufactured issues which have no logic or basis. So if the protesters think that their cause is so popular, I am sure they would get some huge support in the parliament. But they don't have that kind of support in the parliament. Therefore, they don't want to be seen to be taking it to the parliament. They don't want any discussion in the parliament. When voting happens, you find the vested interests, suddenly abandon the well of the house and they walk out and say then that they have not been allowed to vote. These are the kind of tactics which are being used. However, the parliament is the best forum, or once the law is passed, go to the court. You must understand, Tina ji, that the will of the people is reflected through parliament, and government is only an implementing agency of the will of the people through parliament. Government cannot say, I'll take back the law. It can only at best initiate a process out there. So therefore, we must understand government is an implementing agency of the laws of the parliament, and they have to do it in a letter and a spirit. And that is what Supreme Court has been saying time and again, that the government should, create a situation and see that such kind of, blockades or indefinite protests that have taken place during Shaheen Bagh does not arise again. They said it so in that previous three-judge bench that made it very clear and gave directions to the government also. But the fact remains, government being popularly elected governments have been slightly lenient, and the public opinion today has, is very clear that these protests which occupy public spaces and cause huge amount of inconvenience are illegal and have to be stopped. I think that is the public opinion which the government must also look into.
Absolutely.
And should not be, taken hostage because of few selected individuals.
Certainly. And those protesting have to understand that to exercise their fundamental right to protest, they cannot be violating the fundamental rights of hundreds and thousands of others. So with that, I'll have to call it a wrap of this edition of Discussion Today. Thank you to both my guests for joining me on the program and putting forth your perspective with us on the subject. Pleasure having you on the show. So that's it from us on this edition of Discussion Today. Just in case you've missed the television broadcast, let me remind you, you can also watch it on YouTube and Twitter, and you can get back to us with your feedback and suggestions. Thank you for your time.